Hi, friends. Welcome to Law Chat with Girja. My name is Girja Bhargav Patel. I'm a mother. I'm a wife. I am a podcaster. I am an educator. I am a businesswoman. I am an entrepreneur, and I'm a lawyer. I truly believe in the power of mentorship through storytelling, and that's what Law Chat is all about. So whether you are in 6 months or 10 years of business experience, we can all learn from each other's experiences because we face the same challenges and we have the victories and we have mistakes that we're all making. So why not lean into them and know that we're going to be fine and we're going to be okay and we're going to be inspired. And of course, this is Law Chat with Girja, so we will be talking about some law at some point during the conversation. And if you love what you hear today, which I know you will, then subscribe to Law Chat with Girja and share the love. So grab your coffee, sparkling water, or wine, and let's dive in to the next inspiring mentorship session. Hi, friends. Welcome to Law Chat. Starting a business can seem so exciting and somewhat romanticized as well. But when you get into the thick of the weeds, it can be exhausting, it can be overwhelming, but then also it can be distracting and sometimes you feel defeated. And on today's podcast, my guest today, Sarah Morgan, is the founder and CEO of Dare to Grow, where she coaches, strategizes, trains other women entrepreneurs to simplify their marketing strategies, show up with the confidence, and grow their online businesses. Among her many accolades, which we'll be getting into today, she's an Emmy-winning digital strategist who's been blogging, designing, and creating online content for over 20 years. She's a host of Dare to Grow podcast. And if you ask her about her job, it's to help you simplify the strategies, create a manageable plan, and feel confident enough about what you're creating to finally see things grow, making it accessible at the end of the day. I am so excited to have you here with us, Sarah. I was reading about you. You've done such amazing things and very interesting things as well. So welcome to Law Chat.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to talk to you today.
Yeah. Like I was saying earlier, I always kind of go into my guests and like see what they're doing and kind of research. And I just feel like you have done so many different things alongside just totally random, what someone might call it random, not random to you maybe. But I feel like every element of our life is it's not just a coincidence. It's happened for a reason. And eventually they all link together. And so how did you come to where you are today? How did you start your own business and that journey? Let's start from the beginning of that journey.
Yeah. So I've been in business for 9 years, like 9.5 years now. So I feel like my journey, I have to keep like figuring out how to share it so that it's not like an hour-long story. But short version is I worked as a corporate web designer at a TV station in Detroit for 7 years. So I took all of those like nerdy blogging, teenage design skills, and turned that into an actual job, which was awesome until it wasn't. Eventually, they moved me from my like dark little corner, like no overhead, no fluorescent lighting. It was nice and quiet. And they moved me into the literal center of the newsroom because that was the time when websites, like all companies were realizing they needed a website and they needed to update their website, and social media had just become a thing. Like Twitter, I remember we had a social media consultant come in and I was like, who is this person? So they moved me into the middle of the newsroom. My little introvert soul was just like crushed every single day. I would come into work so late. Like, I hate to say that I was a terrible employee, but I like got my shit done so they couldn't fire me. So eventually I was like, I can't do this anymore. I started using my blog to take on web design clients and grew that business enough. And alongside that, I was doing circus stuff. So I was performing and I was teaching. That's a whole other story. But yeah, I ended up having enough clients, enough shows, enough students that I was able to leave my job. And since then, I did web design. I've sold blog templates. I've sold online courses, ebooks. I kind of just evolved and let myself be creative and listened to my audience. And I found that as a web designer, I was handing off websites to people and they just didn't know what to do with them. They didn't know what to put in their blog or how to grow their email list or what to post on Instagram or Facebook. And so I ended up creating all of those digital products for that reason. And then I realized that I really liked doing that, and working one-on-one with clients. It's a challenge, and it can be intense. And, sometimes you don't get the right personality match. And so I was like, okay, we're going to not do clients like that anymore. And I'm just going to do digital products. And now all of my digital products are in one membership, Dare to Grow. It's a monthly marketing membership for mostly women. I've got one dude in there. Shout out to Robert. But yeah, it's mostly women growing their businesses. They're kind of in the first couple of years and learning how to do marketing in a way that you're not working nights and weekends, and also being able to show up confidently because like everything is video now.
Wow.
So I think I slimmed that down.
That was super slimmed down, but we're going to go into the depths of it in just a second. So around what time was that, like year time, when Twitter and all were starting to get popular and the newsroom was like, okay, we got to get on this bandwagon?
Yeah, that was like 2010 into 2012. And by 2012, I was like, I cannot. It's not my deal anymore.
So, because I feel like a lot of times people are sitting in jobs that they're not happy in anymore.
Yeah.
And there's a conflict that they're having at that time. The conflict of, well, this is what I studied for. This is what I have been doing. This is what I'm familiar with, versus, but I'm really interested in all these other things. And I think I can really do all this other stuff. So how did you allow yourself the space to explore, but at the same time, hang out in a place where you were just not 100% happy in?
Yeah. So let's see. I started taking on design clients probably 2 or 3 years before I actually left my job, because I was just like, I don't know if I like web design anymore, which should have been a huge red flag to me, but I just had like a mid-20s panic instead, that like the thing I've been doing since I was literally 13 years old, I don't like anymore. And I was like, I have no other skills. Like I went to school for journalism, but I didn't want to go out and be a reporter, or I didn't have to take math classes. That's why I went for journalism. I was like, writing sounds fun. I don't have to take math. That's what happens when you send an 18-year-old, a 17-year-old off to college. So yeah, I straight panicked. So I started doing some design projects for like friends and for people that would find me through my blog, like just fun, creative things. And I realized that I do still like web design. I just don't like corporate design where you have like very strict guidelines. And like I was trying every which way to be creative, and it was never enough, because there was always like some box that I had to stay in. And just little by little, eventually I had a plan that within a year, so it would have been 2011, in 2012, I'm going to leave my job, which kind of happened, except that my boss called me in for my yearly review. And he was like, you don't seem like you're really into this. You're not really passionate. So we're going to change your schedule, which I think was like a sneaky way to get me to leave without having to fire me, because I'd been there for a long time and my boss was awesome. But just the work wasn't my jam anymore. And so he said, you're going to come in on Saturdays and you're going to write more for the website. And I was like, I don't want to do that. And well, I was thinking that at the moment as I was like full on panicking, because this was in May, like early May. And I had planned to not leave until like September, October. So I was, kind of still comfy, working on the side and side hustling. So yeah, that I just panicked immediately, went back to my desk, wrote down a list of all the things that needed to happen so that I could comfortably leave my job. It was mostly like I needed to buy a laptop, because my laptop I was using was a work laptop.
Yeah.
They sent me home with a laptop, so I never bought one. So then I had to go buy a laptop and like use up all my health insurance and all that stuff. And then when I finally, like a month later, he called me back into his office and said, we're going to start changing your schedule. Let's figure out what we're going to do. And I was like, this is not going to work. I got to quit. Yeah. And so I just ended up leaving kind of unexpectedly, but I did a couple of things. I started taking clients way in advance. So I knew that I could get clients because I had gotten clients in the past. And I knew that I could raise my prices a little bit to like fill in the gap. So I started budgeting to figure out not how to make my entire salary, but at least the portion that would cover all my bills and I would like be fine. So I did that. And then also for that, when I was going for a year before I was going to leave, I started saving everything. And I owned my house. So that was the big thing. Like I wanted to be able to pay my mortgage, obviously, and not lose my house. Luckily, I lived in Michigan, so my mortgage was fairly cheap. I'm in San Diego now. That is not the same.
No, not the same situation.
Yeah, it's very different. I think my rent is like twice as much as my parents' mortgage now, which is like insane. But yeah, I made sure like budget wise, I could cover at least my expenses, if not, all of the money I was making at my corporate job, and try to just make sure that I was capable of getting the clients and then had that buffer just in case, 1 month I don't get enough clients or something, I could pull a little money from savings, which I did.
Mm-hmm.
That's just what happens. You kind of have an up and down year the first couple of years or the first year. And so having a little bit of a buffer was really, really helpful in allowing me to focus on my business and on my clients and not just having that like constant money panic going on.
Right. Right. And the money panic is real and it can happen at any given point in time. And it can really you almost feel a little debilitated when you have that issue sitting in front of you.
Yeah. Especially when you don't have any like backup or anything. It's like, this has to work and it has to work now because otherwise I'm going to have life consequences and nobody wants to go through that. So yeah, I always tell my students, you can create offers, you can create bundles, you can create extra services, like you're in charge. So you can create something if you need to fill a hole in your bank account.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. What a great advice, because I think we forget sometimes that we can do it.
Yeah, we have like our one offer or our set of packages, and then we feel like we can't go outside of that. Like we have to make those things work. But man, hustle, figure out other ways to make money if the core things you're doing are not working.
Yeah.
There's lots of options.
And exactly, like don't get yourself stuck in a box, because a lot of times that happens. And I mean, I've been absolutely guilty of that also. And then you're like, wait a second, breathe. You can do this. Like there's so many other ways. And of course, not everything that you do will be successful like the way you're imagining it to be, but at least you tried and you know that it's not that great. So you're not going to waste your time and effort on it again. So yeah, I completely agree with you. So the time that you were transitioning, were there any challenges that you were facing at that time that were kind of maybe, if any, if they were like kind of like blocks for you to move forward in? I hate to interrupt this awesome conversation, but I have to stop and talk with you about the number one thing I'm asked about by entrepreneurs: contracts. They're vital to any business relationship and to protect your business. But I also know that entrepreneurs, especially when you're starting up, money is tight. But I would never want you to compromise on a strong legal foundation. So enter yourcontractbuddy.com, a website created by me with contract templates created and drafted by me and fellow industry partners. They're ready to use and easy to plug in immediately. And they are not restricted to any specific state. So yourcontractbuddy.com is sponsoring this episode, and you and your listener can get 10% off right now with code LAWCHAT. Yes, you heard me right. 10% off right now with code LAWCHAT. And now back to our awesome conversation.
I think I was so intent on leaving my job and I was so excited to leave my job that was like my one focus. I kind of knew because I had been taking clients for a couple of years and I had been I was working for like food. Bands would hire me to do their websites and they would like pay me in pizza, which was ridiculous. But that's what happens when you're like a teenager with design skills. I was paid in food many, many times, always from dudes. But I knew that I had the skill to create something and to get paid for it. And so it was really the mindset of like raising my prices so that I could actually pay my bills and finding clients that were a good match for me. I think I went off your question. What was the, sorry.
So if you faced any blocks, like any, in your mindset even, or, actual, real, tangible blocks for you to move forward, and how did you overcome
I feel
them?
like I set myself up really, really well, saving like everything. Like I did nothing. I didn't go out. I wasn't fun for that year when I was trying to leave my business. I mean, I was also doing the circus stuff, so that kind of filled that like social hole for me. But I was so focused on just leaving, just getting out of my job, just getting back into a place where I felt comfortable. Like I like being in my little quiet apartment by myself all day. So getting out of that loud, chaotic newsroom every day. So
Yeah.
I didn't have the mindset blocks until after I left. And then
Yeah.
I started looking at everyone else's businesses, and there was like, oh, you've got to make this much, or you've got to do this thing in order to be successful or a
Yeah.
real business owner. And so I think a lot of the mindset blocks just showed up later after I was already free of my job and
Right.
on my own. And then it was like, oh, now I got
Yeah.
to figure all this shit out.
And I do want to point something out. Like, even, you were doing graphic designing and you were doing this back since you were 13. And I think,
Mhm.
we might, again, going back to the whole thing of, well, this is what we've been educated for. This is what we've spent so much money on in our education. So we should be doing this. But you can still continue doing it, but you don't have to keep the
Yeah.
same who and what and why. That can change. So for you also, your who, what, why changed. The newsroom changed, the what you were doing it for changed, the why you were doing it also changed, and it changed into something that you're doing for yourself now, and your
Yeah.
clients changed, but you're still doing what you love, and that's okay. Like, sometimes the passion, the shift is the audience that we're working for.
Yeah, I love that. Sometimes you just have to take your skill and put it in like a completely different industry. And then you're like, oh, I do like doing this thing that I've been
Yeah.
obsessed with my entire life. It was just
Ex-
the box I was in was like,
yes.
for me, it was very constricting. I
Yeah.
was like panicking trying to figure it out.
Yeah. And also, you're right. A lot of times we are in a corner where we're ready to make that shift. We've been thinking about it. You've prepared for it. And financially, it is so important. It's key to be financially prepared also for it.
Yeah,
And
it
not,
helps a lot.
that really helps in the whole mindset of feeling sorry for yourself. And then, and then like, but going into that next stage in life, there is so much more mindset challenges that you might get. And like how you were saying, you're looking around half the
Yeah.
time and the blinders aren't on for you to focus on what you're doing and staying in your zone of genius. So what were some of the challenges you faced at that point? Because I know they're very common, and I know a lot of budding entrepreneurs and even people in the 10-year stage who are diversifying face the same challenges.
Yeah, the bummer that it keeps popping up. Like your imposter syndrome doesn't stop when you like figure it out at year 2 or year 3. It's going to come back every time you get to a new level, or you're trying a new program, or you're in a new environment. It's going to come up every single time. And you do get better. At least I've gotten better at recognizing it, realizing that,
Mm-hmm.
comparing myself to other people is not helpful. And I can kind of logic my way out of it a lot faster now. One of the things that really didn't stall me, but it made everything I was doing take a lot more time, was looking at other people's like their nice background and their like professional video, and the lighting killed me because I was in a first level apartment, and I kept shooting video when it would be like cloudy. Like, I'm in San Diego, it's usually not
Mm-hmm.
cloudy, but there would be clouds going by. And so the lighting in my apartment would shift so much, and I didn't have like studio lights, that it would drive me crazy. Now I would just tell my students, like, get over it. As long as people can see you and hear you, it doesn't matter. Nobody
Yeah.
is paying attention to that. But for me, I would re-record my videos. I would get so frustrated and stop doing a video so that I could do it the next day when it was going to be like better lighting. And so I really slowed myself down with like minuscule things that now I know do not matter at all. But at the beginning, you're just trying to like emulate who you're seeing, or try and fit into what seems to be popular or trending. And we end up making a lot of unnecessary adjustments when you really like, my phone back then was like just out of being a flip phone. I think I had the first iPhone, but you got a camera in your hand literally 100% of the day until you're sleeping. And then I don't know about you, but my phone is literally next to my head. So if I needed to make a video, I could. But we forget that we can just be ourselves and show up. I think TikTok is
Mm.
helping with that. But
Mm.
yeah, there's always a mindset issue that's going to pop up to like slow you down just before something good is going to happen. Like, we start to get uncomfortable and like double check that we're doing things right, instead of just saying, I have this plan, I'm going to try it and see what happens. And I'm not going to worry about what other people are doing. But that is very hard. And it's
Mm.
only, I'm over 9 years in. And in the past couple of years, I've really felt steady in just doing what I thought of doing, or following an idea just to see if it will work, and not worrying about what everybody else is doing.
Yeah. And it does take time and experience to get there. But in order for you to get there, you have to take that next step. You can't just keep
Yeah.
hanging out in that fear mode because the fear mode is you can't move forward. It'll just
Yep.
paralyze you. I absolutely feel that, the more we encounter these situations, the better we become when we past them, when we are able to like say, no, I'm not going to let you take over me. I'm going to, do that, the next thing. And a lot of times I actually just recorded a podcast last week. It was a solo podcast about, paving your own path and not looking at what everybody else is doing in the industry because they're doing the boxed in stuff and you're trying to
Hmm.
be innovative. You're trying to be different. And that does require you ruffling some of the feathers and being okay with it.
Yeah, but then you end up calling in the right people. The
Yes.
more that I've kind of like put myself out there, like, I've got all my like old band flyers, like that stuff seems kind of random, but it really does help to attract people. And then it helps me look the way that I look, and people are attracted to your vibe. And so you really end
Yes.
up having the best people show up in your programs. And if you're working directly with people, whether that's like services or in my coaching program, in the membership, I'm doing group coaching. And so we're on Zoom all the time. And you really want to have the right people that are like a good match for what you do and not just that want to learn the thing but they actually want to hang out with you. It
Mm-hmm.
makes your job so much easier. And showing up with like all of your flaws and weirdness is
Mm-hmm.
one of the best ways to do that, because you will turn off people, but those people would have been sucky clients and
Mm-hmm.
sucky people in your program. And, those are the people that would maybe buy an offer and then never go through it,
Mm-hmm.
or, hang out with you for a week and then be like, this is not my thing. And
Mm-hmm.
so it's a lot easier to do your job when you are showing up as yourself and then like attracting the people that are a match for that.
I love that you made that point because I was actually just thinking that when you were saying earlier that, I was looking at others and thinking, gosh, I would need my background to be the same way. And that's so
Yeah.
true. We see people's TikTok videos, even, or like in today's world, TikTok and reels and all that. And we're like, oh, we need to do the dancing. But hey, if you can't do the
Yeah.
dancing, then don't do the dancing. I mean,
No.
I love dancing, but I'm not going to do a TikTok dance. Like, that's just not me.
Yeah. I'm not putting that on video.
And not the TikTok way. Like I just can't. So
No.
I love it,
Yeah.
but I can't do it for myself and for my business because it doesn't feel genuine to me. And so if it's not feeling genuine, that energy is coming across the same way too. It's not coming on
Yeah.
as being authentic. And we use the word authentic all the time, but really it's just what aligns with you. What's aligning with
Mhm.
your values and the way you run yourself, personal,
Yeah.
professionally, anyways. And if it's not aligning, that's probably not authentic to you anymore.
Yeah. So you can really listen to your gut when it comes to deciding what strategies to use or what to do with your business. I love that you brought up the TikTok dances, because that was one of the first things that I was like, no, 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 no. Like, first of all, I'm 38. Like, I don't dance like that. Like, I can do the Running Man and all of those things. Like that, I don't dance like that. And so that I was totally not into it. And that was a sign, because the people that are in my program are also like, we're not dancing on TikTok. Like, what else can we do? And so
Yeah.
I attracted the people that were a right match for that. And also, I love TikTok. Like, I'm very new to TikTok in the past couple of months. But my TikTok doesn't have anybody dancing on it. So if you go onto the app, Instagram doesn't work as well for that. You're still going to see some of the stuff that you're like not really aligned with. But TikTok is really, really good at showing you stuff that is a great match for what you do.
Mm-hmm.
So I always encourage people, even if you're not really going to make content for TikTok, to go on the app, because you're going to see so many other types of people that are not in that like Instagram filtered perfection, doing all of the trends, lip syncing, like voiceovers and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
yeah, there's absolutely a space for people to do other things. And you're dead on. Like, if you feel like you don't want to do it, then don't. because it's
Yeah.
not the thing for you. Yeah, you can totally listen to your gut when it comes to business decisions.
Absolutely. And so I know that now you're doing group coaching and you help with marketing strategies. And I feel like, when we start a business, like I said earlier, a lot of times we get so into the idea because we love it and we're like, yes, let's do it. But then when it comes to the actual implementation of all your ideas, there's a lot of things involved in that equation.
Yeah.
And some of those things may not be your zone of genius, and they also may not be something you enjoy doing, period. So, how do you help your group or your clients navigate that? And what are some
Yeah.
things that you're teaching them to help them move past those weeds that keep sucking them back in?
Yeah. Oh, I love this question because we are just doing it this month. The first step is to do like a time log or track your time. So literally notebook, write down every hour of the day, maybe half hours, maybe 15 minutes, depending on how you're working. And you're going to track everything you're doing in your work hours. And that's personal and business stuff. So if I like run errands, I'm going to write it down. If I walk the dog, I'm going to write it down. And so you have a really good list of exactly where you're spending your time. And then you can go through and say, okay, this takes like 10 minutes to do. It's not super important, but I need to have it done every week. That's the kind of stuff that you want to hire. Have someone else do that. Have someone else go through your inbox. That was the most relieving thing I've done in my business is get out of my inbox because there's never anything in there that you like immediately need to respond to. And so having somebody else go through all the garbage and pull out the important things like podcast interviews, it makes it so much easier. And then you get that time back. So when you track your time, you'll be able to see, oh, I'm spending 2 hours in my inbox every day. If I take those 2 hours and hand it to someone else and pay them $20, then I can spend 2 hours on something that's in my zone of genius. And my hourly rate is way over $20. And so you're actually getting more out of the hours when you take all of the little tasks off your plate.
Mm-hmm. I think that's the best advice. And then, of course, there are things that you just have to do. But
Mm-hmm.
then, if you can batch it and get it out of the way, so you're not like moaning over it or groaning
Yeah.
over it, you can but I think that's such a great advice is to delegate work that you just can't and don't want to do.
Yeah, absolutely. There are
Yeah.
tons of people, especially now, tons of people trying to work from home.
Yeah.
So there is someone out there who will take that task happily off of your plate. And
Yeah.
it doesn't have to be part-time or full-time or, 40 hours a month or anything like that. If you spend 5 hours a month, 10 hours a month and give that to someone else, that's time you get back. You could take a nap, you could do more work, you could hang out with your family. So it's really paying attention to like the trade-offs on your time so that you don't end up working through your nights and through your weekends. Because I definitely did that the first couple of years and I do not recommend it.
Yeah, it's exhausting and burnout happens very quickly. And the more that you
Yeah.
have on your plate, the quicker the burnout can happen. And so it's better to manage the time and manage your like what capacity you have and you want to
Yeah.
have, like how you want to show up.
Yeah, you don't have to show up every day, all day. I know that there are like mega extroverts. I'm guessing they're extroverts. I don't know how else you would do that, who are like vlogging their entire day or like they're on stories all day long. That is, I can't do that. I'm very introverted. So I will like be on stories a couple times a week, show my face. And then most of the stuff that I'm sharing that has me on video is pre-recorded. So I'm pre-recording TikToks or reels or
Mhm.
trainings. And then I don't have to be on 24/7 when I just don't have the capacity to do that without burning
Mm,
out. I guess I could do it, but I'm not going to last very long.
right, right. So talking about TikToks and reels and everything. So what are some marketing strategies that you help your clients with in their businesses?
Yes. So one of the things that is so important is being on video. It's going to convert people so much faster. And I keep like harping on this because I've had so many people say, I should do stories. I don't know what number to post. I don't know what to share. I feel so weird on video. I don't feel like I don't like the way I look. And then they start doing it and they're like, oh, actually, this is like kind of fun. So that's my first thing. Like just actually try the thing for like a week. If you hate it, you never have to do it again. You can pick a different platform. We were talking about LinkedIn in Dare to Grow last week because somebody has more of like a business to corporate business. And so there's so many options now. It's not just Twitter or Pinterest or Facebook. You can focus on the type of media that really connects with your audience or that you enjoy doing. So if you don't like doing video, maybe you do a podcast, or maybe you do just audio over video on Instagram. So there's so many different options that allow you to show up in a way that feels, maybe it's uncomfortable at the beginning, but you realize that it's like, I can do this. It's not so bad. And then eventually you maybe start liking it. Like I love sitting in my closet once a week and just talking into a microphone for my podcast. It's like, I feel like I'm making like an address to my audience every week. And like, I know they're going to feel so inspired and excited by it. And they're going to learn something, or I'm going to get them to start something or stop something. And so that's the other half of it. One, finding something that you really, maybe not in the beginning, enjoy doing, but you can tolerate and get to a place where you like doing it. And then also really focusing on what your audience needs to hear, like who is on the other side of that. Somebody is going to get something out of everything you post. And if you're not showing up and you're not finding that right social media platform, you're holding yourself back. That's very obvious. But there's a bunch of people out there like looking for the thing that you do. And if you're not showing up, they might not ever have a chance to do that, or have a chance to fix their problems or figure out something or try something. And so it's not just about our own business and our own growth, which at the very beginning, because you're watching where the money is going and just wanting it to work, it's a little bit more challenging to pay attention to what's happening outside of yourself or on the other side of all of your marketing and all of your content. But that is really what is going to help you drive your business on the days when you don't want to do the thing or you feel uncomfortable about the thing, remembering who is on the other side of that.
And how do you know what your market wants to hear? How do you know what your audience wants to hear?
So if you're in the very beginning, you can make it up. You can imagine the person that you want to work with and just start creating content for that person. It does help if you have a friend or a family member or somebody, you know, maybe it's yourself, you know, a year, 10 years, 5 years ago, but having a very specific picture. If you have already been in business and you're already working with clients, or you already have people in your programs, ask them. I've had multiple people say, how do I ask my audience this information, or how do I get this information without telling them what I'm doing? I'm like, you could just tell them. You could say, I will literally go into my Facebook group and I will say, I am going to make some promotional content for Dare to Grow. Tell me why you like the program. And then I just get a bunch of comments in there. And then I take the comments, and now I have a little graphic that I can make. So you can ask people what they want, what they like, what they don't want. I am going to, and I do this every year, I'm going to send out a survey, not only to my entire audience to see where they are in their business, what their challenges are, what their goals are, what things like mindset things are holding them back. And then I'm also going to send surveys to all of the clients I worked with this year and everyone who went through the membership. So people that have already left the membership will get a survey, as well as people that are in it. So I'm just constantly checking in and asking. And then also you can do polls on Instagram and on TikTok. You can have question boxes. You can have multiple choice questions. So just continuously checking in with your audience not only improves the rate at which they'll respond. If you're continuously asking your audience to take polls or leave comments, they're going to get used to taking action, and they're going to respond to you easier and easier every time it happens. And so you're going to get more and more information. So at the beginning, you maybe have nobody and you're making it up, or you have like 30 people following you, and you got to find that one person or the one or two people who are your ideal customer or client and ask them a million questions. And you can literally say, I'm trying to figure out how to talk to my ideal customer or client. Can I hop on a call with you? Or can I send you this survey? Just DM them and ask. Especially us ladies, like we want to help each other. Like I want to see every woman I come across on the internet make so much money and be so happy and have so much freedom in their life and do whatever the hell they want. And so we are pretty happy to help each other. So don't be afraid to literally DM someone and say, hey, this is what I'm trying to do. Can I pick your brain on like why you're here and what you're working on? Because people will help you out.
I love that, especially coming from an introvert. That's a very, that takes a lot.
You could do it.
You can do it. So I'm going to follow that question up with what you were saying earlier is how do you get people to respond? Because sometimes you can be sending those newsletters out. You can be posting those, Google forms to get surveys and feedback. But if you're not getting the response, how do you start getting the response? Like, what do you have to do to mobilize them and make them answer?
I have the worst answer. Nobody wants to hear this, but you got to make videos and show up. Your audience
Uh,
is not going to come up first. If you're like, okay, I've launched my business, I'm a web designer, please tell me what you want. And it's like
yeah.
crickets. Okay. So you have to show up on video. You got to interact. You have to share some stuff. You have to share your experiences with clients and make them trust you
Hmm.
before they're going to like want to support you in that way. And that takes time. There's no like, now I'm on TikTok and I have 1 million followers. Like it happens, but it doesn't happen to everyone. It doesn't happen easily and it doesn't happen immediately. Like people, if you find someone who has had a viral video and you scroll back into their profile, there's going to be a whole bunch of videos before that one video. And on
Hmm.
TikTok, random tip, what I'm seeing is people testing a lot of different things. So they're talking about their industry from different angles or their niche from different angles until they find that one thing that
Hmm.
gets the attention that people are like, yes, that's what I want to hear. And so there's a
Mm.
lot of testing that goes into it as well.
Oh, great tip. Like not get stuck to one type of video format or,
Yeah.
how you're sharing the information with others. Now, is there some strategy or tips on what kind of information we should be sharing?
Yeah. So you want to be sharing some teaching information. So give a handful of tips so that people can take your advice, use it, learn from it, and get a result. It doesn't have to be a big result, just something like a little mindset shift works. You want to be sharing your story. So, how you learned your expertise, because there is a
Hmm.
lot of people who are like, I am now this expert. It's like, you just made that up. So, if you have experience, years of experience, you've got education, you've gone through some sort of training, like that's a good thing to mention. And then also, you want to share a client before and afters, depending on your industry, maybe it's not like full details because I work with a lot of people who are doing like more like vulnerable work. And so they're not going to be like, oh, so and so has this big problem. But you can kind of share the before and afters of people
Hmm.
and their experiences. And then you also have to talk people through their mindset challenges. So for me, I'm always talking people through showing up on video. That's obvious because I mentioned it like 20 times already. Because it's just in my brain, like we got to do video, we got to do it. But yeah, what is going to hold someone back either from hiring you, working with you, buying from you, or just realizing that they can do that thing?
Hmm.
If you're doing like home organizing and they're like, my house is a mess, I have 8 kids, there's no way we can be organized. You got to talk them up to, okay, maybe we can actually do this. Maybe it's possible.
Hmm.
So figuring out where those mindset shifts need to happen so that they actually feel comfortable with you and paying a literal stranger on the internet. And also knowing that they can get through the program or use the product and get the results that other people are getting. Because we always think we're very special and it'll never work for me. I see that you have 5,000 testimonials, that I am special and it won't work for me. So you kind of have to do a little convincing as well.
Yeah. Oh, such great tips. And of course, there's just so much we can actually even create those videos from, even if it's not
Yeah.
a dance, but you can
Yeah.
absolutely do, like those tips or just how to do something or the before and after videos. They do take time. So do you think like batch recording them or
Yeah.
like, what would be some like the best way to create those videos? Because I mean, videos take time. Like even the editing part of it takes time sometimes.
Yeah. So I always tell my students to do the easiest version first, unless you have experience. Otherwise, it's going to take you like 5 hours and you're going to hate it. So I have like oh, it's over here, but I have like a bendy tripod. I stick it on my windowsill. So I have good light. Literally sit on my coffee table and I have a list, either it's on my laptop or it's on a notebook of like, okay, I'm going to do this reel or this TikTok. if I'm going to use some like audio or something, I make sure I note that. And then I have some bullet points. And then I literally sit down and I'll do like 5, maybe 10 if I'm like really on my game. Usually I do like 5 or so videos at once, and I'm literally just talking into my phone.
Yeah.
For a minute. Like on Reels, all you have to do is a minute. You can go up to 3 minutes on TikTok. So sometimes I'll do the 3 minutes and then I'll take a chunk and that goes onto Reels, or I'll take 3 chunks and do like a series. But do the easiest version that you can get through quickly. So if you can do a minute of video and not have to edit, that is amazing. And if you've never done video before, it's going to take a hot minute for you to get that skill, but I can sit down and talk for a minute straight on whatever topic it is. And then I don't have to edit, and I can literally just hop into TikTok and upload. So that maybe is the other thing that's helpful, is to record video on your camera, or in the camera on your phone, instead of doing it inside of Reels or inside of TikTok. Do it outside. You could edit everything out, all of the awkwardness. Sometimes I'm like talking and I'm all good, and then I'm like, I have no idea what I'm saying. And I just pause. I let the video keep going. I like gather my thoughts. I look at my notes, and then I keep going, and I just take out that little section of it. So as simply as possible, so that you can get used to the app and get used to showing up. And then if you want to get crazy and do lots of like editing and stuff, you can add that in. But I think a lot of people are like, I'm going to make this fancy video. I'm going to do like all these different transitions. I'm going to change my outfit. I'm going to be over here and then over here. And then they sit down to edit, and it's like a headache. And then you got to add in like all the like little word bubbles and everything. Make it easy the first time. Talk, add the caption, like the automated captions, so people can read what you're saying, and just let it go like that to kind of get started. You don't have to dive into like, I've been doing this for years and years and years, and I still don't do all the fancy editing because I just don't feel like it.
Yeah. And it takes time. Yeah.
Yeah.
And if you notice, I mean, I know I follow like 3 fashion influencers because they're really amazing business women too. And so I just love following them, but their videos are not TikTok-y type at all. And if they're doing a TikTok video, it's like they've very intentionally been like, okay, guys, we just did a TikTok video, but it's not like, that's not their norm. The norm is literally talking. The norm is showing up and showing whatever out. So it's cool because they're huge, but they're not doing what the trend is. And I've noticed that also. So again, staying true to what's easy for you and what works for you and for your audience as well. You've given like amazing video marketing advice. Like I've left with some amazing stuff as well. I really wanted to touch on your circus experience for a little bit. And because it seems so out there for somebody from my, like a third party, right? Clearly it's not, though. Clearly it's something you like to do.
I had no skills when I showed up to do that. So there was a circus school. I was living in Michigan. So in Detroit, there's a circus school. It's still there. And I just went into classes like on a whim, and I was terrible. Like I couldn't. So the trapeze, usually you think it's like up here and you're like swinging. When you go to a circus school, the trapeze is here. You're standing on the ground and it's in front of your chest. I could not get my legs over. I could not. The trapeze was here. I'm 5'3". It's not that high. I could not get on it. And I could climb the silks, but then I couldn't do anything because I couldn't hold myself up. It's an enormous amount of grip strength. And then, all the muscles. Also, after the first class, the next day, I couldn't move. Like I physically, I was like, every inch of my body, like the tips of my fingers to the tips of my toes hurt. So you will get really, really strong. I was bad for a very long time. It took me months to really be able to get on the trapeze and to like do anything, to get my ass upside down. I'm a small person too. But I just loved the challenge because there's a mental challenge as well in there of like, you tried this 50 times and you still can't do anything, but you're going to keep coming back. And eventually I got upside down. Eventually I could do like drops and tricks and stuff. And then I started getting opportunities to perform. There's like a nice little circus community. And so I was starting to perform at like little events, and I would perform at like, when you go to like a charity event and there's like somebody spinning, I would do that. which is lovely. There would always be like a nice drunk gentleman who would try and like touch me or talk to me while I'm doing something or get on the apparatus. We would
No.
always have to ask for security to
Yeah.
stand near us. But yeah, I did that. So I had a corporate job, freelance work, and then I had a side hustle being a circus performer. And I did that for almost 10 years. And then I just got
Wow.
tired.
Wow. So what
Yeah.
are some lessons that you've taken from there and that kind of just
Ooh.
travel with you now? Because I mean, I just feel
Oh,
like that's
that's a
such
good
an
one.
amazing experience. Like, what are some lessons that you took from that and apply it to your life now?
I almost forgot about this. So the find better best method, which is something I teach inside of Dare to Grow, but that came from circus. So, and
Wow.
it comes from a rigger named Brett Copes. I got to give credit. But I went to a couple of his rigging classes. And so where you learn how to like attach your silks to the ceiling and not fall on your head or like have it rip
Mm-hmm.
out of the ceiling.
Mm-hmm.
And so his method was find better best. Like if you do it this way, you'll be fine. Like it's very unlikely something will happen. If you do it the better way, you're like really, really safe. And if you do it the best way, the literal building has to fall down before you're ever going to fall or be
Wow.
injured or have your rigging mess up. And so I translate that into business is when I talk to people about doing things like video. I'm like, just do the fine one, just like talk to the camera and post it. Don't edit, don't filter. You don't have to do anything. Just post it. Let your audience see you. And then you do the better method. Maybe you're going to do, add some graphics or you're going to do like a little transition. And then the
Mm-hmm.
best, you got your lighting and music and you're doing all the things. But you can
Yeah.
start from the fine method and you will be okay. It will
Yeah.
work. But you don't have to you don't have to have the whole circus.
Yeah.
You can you can be the street corner performer and make a little money to start. You don't have to have like the big top, which a lot of people hold back. I'm making a whole metaphor here, which I so appreciate you leading me in this direction. But you don't have to wait until you can have the three-ring circus and all the extra stuff and all the people flying through the air. Like if you have
Mm-hmm.
a skill, you can just do your skill
Mm-hmm.
as you are and start from there.
Mm. Gosh, I love that. Yay. Oh my gosh, I love that. And it's so true. It's like people start recognizing your skill and you start shining in your
Yeah.
skill. And then that helps you grow into other levels and stages. And it's hard. It's hard in the beginning. It's hard when you see so much potential for yourself and you may
Yeah.
keep falling on your face over and over again, but just keep getting back up, keep showing up.
Yes.
And
Keep
that,
going.
yeah,
That's how you never fail. You just keep
yeah.
going.
Yeah, because it's definitely a work in progress. It doesn't happen overnight. So,
Yeah.
gosh, I love that. And this is law chat. I always say that because I always forget to like talk about law
Like,
and
oh
that thing. So have you ever encountered something with the law that you're like, gosh, I really wish I knew that before, or you already took preemptive actions towards something?
yeah. Oh, so I thought of one. So, okay, first I went through trademarking Dare to Grow this past
Nice.
year, which I had no idea how to do that. I did use LegalZoom, so I don't know if that's a thumbs up or not from you, but because I would put off the legal process because I was afraid of screwing something up. So going through a program like that allowed me to be sure that like all the documents are correct and I just have to input the right information. And I got pretty close. There was like a little back and forth, but it was a lot easier than I thought it was going to be.
Mm-hmm.
And I just had like one mark for one thing. So that was probably like the easiest version of a trademark.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but my advice for that is just go for it. If you think you need that, and if you're going to be running a program or, you have some phrase that you're going to be saying a million times, don't be afraid to trademark that because the
Mm-hmm.
process is not as scary as it looks. And there's lots of people who are available to help you. I know
Yeah.
lots of lawyers who are now online and doing things to help business owners. So the help is there. So don't be afraid of that. And then the other thing, which this was like probably in the first 3 years of my business, somewhere at the very beginning, I had someone like swipe all of not even my content, they swiped like my about page and my services page, which I had hired someone to write all of that. And so that was a lot of like Googling cease and desist letters and things like that. And luckily I think I sent them two or my assistant actually, that's the other part that's very helpful with an assistant. They can start sending out all the legal letters and cease and desist things. But yeah, it took a couple of tries to get her to like respond, because I'm sure she panicked when she saw that I had noticed that. But yeah, just some
Was it local? I mean, local, like, was it in the States, or was it somebody foreign?
It was one of my students actually,
Oh my goodness.
Which is like, duh, I have looked at your website, like I'm gonna read it. So yeah, I'm not sure. But yeah, so it was somebody in the States, and it's somebody that I knew, but it still took a couple of emails and like, nope, you got to do this and this and this, or else that's still my content that you're stealing. Yeah. And I've definitely been, well, not once I was threatened by a client because she didn't like my contract rules, essentially. So I had sent her the contract and she signed the contract, and it said you get this many revisions, and we got through that. And then she was like, I hate the website. I was like, well, now you have to pay me more. Like I will keep doing more revisions, but per the contract, it costs more money. And she was like, I will sue you. Like, okay, I'm just going to we're going to get rid of you. We're not going to continue on this project. But the contract is, it's so like a brick wall.
Yeah.
And it helps you so much when that one random person decides to like be a jerk and have a big issue, and you don't have to do any convincing or back up anything. It's right there. You've already done it. You've already signed it. These are the rules. And so, yeah, that's definitely from the start for anything. When someone is giving you money, you need to have some sort of contract in there.
Yeah. Contracts are so important. And I'm glad that you even talked about the trademark, because people do get overwhelmed and scared by the idea, but there's definitely people out there, like I myself help others with trademark as well. And but it's definitely a thing that's out there and that can easily be done and taken care of by an attorney as well. But yeah, contracts are so essential. And I think what I like about what you said was not just having the contract, but having the guts to implement and enforce the contract, because that takes guts. It's one thing to have it. And then it's another thing just to be like, okay, whatever, it's okay. But you need to be able to enforce it in your actions, enforce it in the process of your business, and, follow through with the enforcement as well.
Yeah. And that definitely takes practice. Like the first time you do it, it's like, I am never going to open my laptop again because I'm afraid of what they're going to say. And usually what happens is they don't respond at all, and you have to send them more emails, or they respond and they're like, okay, yeah, fine. Like I've only had that one person who really tried to fight me on it.
Yeah.
And, I just threw her money back at her, and I was like, I can get a new client. Like, it sucks that I did all of this work, but I'm not going to literally fight with someone.
Yeah. And you also have to know when to stop. Like, when is it? Because, going into litigation can be really expensive, and you have to really wonder that, is this expense worth it? And it's not just money wise worth it, but sometimes it comes down to principle. And half the time people are so emotionally vested in what's happening that that's what's perpetuating the issue, and not the actual monetary tangible stuff behind it.
Yeah. I think now maybe because my prices would be higher and my packages would be more expensive, I would maybe like fight a little bit more to keep the money. But back then I just like panicked. She wasn't going to listen to the contract, and I was like, okay, get rid of her.
Yeah.
But yeah, now I'd probably fight a little bit harder for that.
Well, thank you so much for sharing those intimate details. I appreciate it. How can everybody reach you?
So you can find me at exosarah.com. That's where you'll find my podcast. It's the Dare to Grow show. It's on all the podcast platforms. If you want to find circus pictures, you can scroll way, way, way back in my Instagram. There are some videos and photos in there. You can find me at exosarahmorgan on Instagram, on TikTok, all the social platforms. And if you want to hang out with me in my membership, it's daretogrow.co. Awesome. And I will convince you to do video if you come hang out with me.
I love that. That is awesome. And before we say goodbye, do you have a book that you would recommend to the listeners today?
Oh, let's go with Rachel Rogers. We Should All Be Millionaires. If you're not feeling like you have the capacity or the time or the space or the ability to get rich, read her book.
Okay.
Because that is going to solve so many money issues and money blocks and make you feel like you can really go after something.
Rachel Rogers, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, all of this stuff will be in the show notes. So all the links will be in the show notes. Well, thank you so much for sharing all of your amazing tips and your wisdom. I really, really appreciate you being on Law Chat with us today.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Thank you so much for joining Law Chat with Girja. I just love these kind of conversations that are motivating, inspiring, but truthful, raw, and honest about all of the challenges, all of the victories, all of the triumphs, picking ourselves back up again. I just can't think of a better way to get mentorship but Law Chat with Girja. If this was helpful to you or this was inspiring to you, please share the love. You can give this video a thumbs up. You can subscribe to this channel. You can also share this with your community by taking a screenshot and posting it on your social media and tagging GBP Law. When you do that, a lot more people will be able to see this video that not only benefited you, but also can benefit them as well. So let's share that love and let's share that inspiration. And if you want more information about what I do and other resources, go check out gbplaw.com or yourcontractbuddy.com. And I look forward to seeing you next time.